chance to know my grandpa, and like a lot of people, I didn't get to meet my great-grandfather. But after going through many old records and papers of theirs, I feel as though I've had a glimpse into their lives. I've been reminded that they looked out on the same sweetgrass hills that I have, enjoying the big sky and view for miles. In 1909, my great-grandpa was a young man from South Bend, Indiana. After graduating from school as a teacher, Roy Marion Hearn moved away from his family and friends to seek new opportunities in the prairies of Canada. In March of that year, Roy obtained entry for a homestead in southern Alberta, the southeast quarter of Section 33, Township 4, Range 9, west of the 4th Meridian. He was 21 years old and ready to begin his farming journey. Although he received his land in March, he did not live on the property until November, after he built a 10-by-12 lumber home worth $120. Before he moved to the homestead, he spent time living in New Dayton and Warner, I'm sure working where he could, saving money, making new friends, and thinking about his farm. Spring 1910 came, and it was time to work the land. Roy broke and cropped 20 acres with a team of oxen, which he found very stubborn to work with. By 1912, Roy had developed his farm to include a small barn, a granary, a mile-and-a-half of fence, 4 oxen, and a well. He was now cropping 60 acres of farmland. Five years after arriving in Canada, and after establishing himself as a true farmer, Roy married Mary Frances Voller. Mary said later in life that she actually didn't want to get married to anyone. She wanted to become a nun. But, from what I understand about Great-Grandpa Roy, he was a likable guy, and she probably just couldn't resist his proposal. The farm continued to grow as Roy broke and cropped more land. By 1916, he had added another granary, built an addition onto the house, and dug 3 more wells. However, they still had found no water. They must have hauled water from somewhere by horse and cart. Also that year, Roy applied for the patent for the southwest quarter of Section 33. His farm was expanding even more. Those first years included much hard work and determination to make a desolate plot of land into a profitable business and a place to call home. In October 1927, 15 years after being married, Roy and Mary welcomed their only child to the world, James Mark Hearn. I'm sure growing up that little Jimmy really looked up to his dad as he watched him work on the farm and in the community. As Jim grew up, he seemed to enjoy the farming life as much as his dad did. Sometime during those years, while still farming, Roy taught at a school near his farm. I'm sure having 2 incomes was helpful to Grandpa Roy in those days. When the dirty 30s hit, he didn't seem to be affected. In fact, in 1932, he built the house that's still in use today. 25 by 35, 2 levels, indoor plumbing, and perhaps plans for electricity in the future were some of the improvements the new Hearn house included. I'm sure it felt like a castle to Mary as she moved her 5-year-old son and their few belongings to this new home. I'm sure, too, that Roy felt proud to provide for his family. It really was the ultimate farmhouse at that time. From this point on, Roy added other buildings to the farmyard, like a Quonset, large garage, pump house, bunkhouse, blacksmith shop, chicken coop, and an ice cellar dug into the ground. At some point, he also added a large windmill to charge batteries kept in the basement of the house that could provide them with 32 volts of electricity. Roy was always innovative and forward-thinking, characteristics which got handed down through the family. From having one of the first tractors to pioneering zero-till techniques in the 70s and buying the first no-till drill in southern Alberta, the Hearn Farm has been an early adapter to new agricultural techniques and technology. By the time of his early death at 60 years old, Roy had built up a thriving farm out of virtually nothing. While many pioneers left southern Alberta during the 30s, I'm sure his extra employment as a teacher, good years of crops, wise money management, perseverance, and enjoyment of the prairie life made the difference for Roy and his family. When Roy died in 1948, Jim and his mother took charge of the farm. Shortly after this, Jim married his sweetheart, Myrtle Iredale. Myrt was born January 22, 1929, to Orly and Edith at a farmhouse in the Groton area. Grandma Myrt says she first met Jim when she was 13. The schools in the area consolidated, which meant that she and Jim now both attended the Hoping School. She says she liked him right away. He dressed tastefully for a young man, and he was a people person. When Myrt was about 15, she moved to Nemiskem to live with her older sister, Violet, and she had so much fun working at the general store. She did that until she and Jim were married on May 23, 1949.
Stars fading, but I linger on, dear, still craving your kiss. I'm longing to linger till dawn, dear, just saying this. Sweet dreams till sunbeams.
Grandma Hearn moved off the farm later that year. She passed away in Lethbridge at 82 years old.
Life could be a dream, life could be a dream. Do, 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 shaboom.
A new era on the farm began with Jim and Myrt. They had their first baby at the end of 49 and named him Brian. The 50s and 60s brought a lot of happy times to the Hearn farm. Jim and Myrt got their two daughters, Joan in 53 and Sheila in 57. Jim and Myrt's youngest child, Bradley, was born in 1962. Through these years, their family had many good times and the farm continued to do well.
Let me spend my whole life loving you. Life could be a dream, sweetheart.
However, in 1974, Jim suffered a stroke and battled with sickness for 13 years until leaving the earth in 1987. In the midst of that difficult time, many changes took place on the farm. In the spring of '84, Brad became full manager of J.M. Hearn Farms. In the fall of that same year, he married Shelley Hildenbrand. Grandma Myrt moved to Medicine Hat, and Brad and Shelley began their time on the farm, where they remain today. Without milestones to mark our lives, our memories would fail to capture the details of those important events that happened. In the Hearn family, like others, we've gathered together to celebrate births, graduations, and weddings. We've said goodbye to loved ones together and seemed to be there at the times when we've needed each other the most. We don't always agree on every subject. After all, we're an opinionated bunch. But family ties run deeper than disagreements. A family can endure the test of time and long distance. We don't get to choose our family, but there is greatness in having a group of people accept you, if for no other reason than because you're a part of the family. In honor of the Hearn Farms Centennial, we mark today's milestone by remembering another Hearn legacy, the love of a family.